Hello, my name is JD Binger, and today we're going to be talking about the lives of Adam and Eve and how they point us to the nature of Jesus Christ in the New Testament. So I'm going to pick up in Genesis 3. And in Genesis 3, we see the fall. God tells Adam and Eve some very clear instructions in the garden. Everything you see here is good. There is one tree. Do not touch it, for if you do, it will lead to your death. And then a snake slithers along and begins to speak to Eve and begins to entice her to not just look at that tree, but to take from the fruit and eat it. And she knows it's not what she's supposed to do, but she listens. And in time, she forms her own opinion. And instead of trusting the voice of God, she begins to convince herself that the tree looks good, looks delightful. I'm going to take from it. And I'm going to eat from it because I think it will lead to my elevation and not my death, like God says. She then convinces Adam to also partake. And this is the fall, right? Mankind's first rebellion against God. Shortly after that, God steps into the scene and he addresses the serpent. And he says, an offspring from her, the one that you entice to rebel against me, an offspring from her will one day come along, and he will crush your head, and you will bite his heel. Right? And in that moment, we get a glimpse already of the coming Messiah, the person of Jesus Christ. As soon as sin enters the realm and mankind is separated from God, God's first reaction is, here's my plan to restore humanity to myself. And my son will be the one to do it. And he will crush the serpent. And in the process, his heel will be bit. And the venom of the enemy will fill him. Suffering, death will overtake the Messiah. But as we know, the story doesn't end there. So we flash forward. And we go to the night before Jesus is to be crucified. He's in the Garden of Gethsemane. And in the garden, he is praying to God. He's overwhelmed with the thought of what's going to happen the next day. And he says, if this cup can pass from me, please let it. Right? He's overcome with the thought, with the dread of the next day's events. But then he says this, but if not, I'm doing it because it's not about my will, it's about yours. And we get such an incredible contrast there between Adam and Eve and Jesus. Adam and Eve said, not your will, but mine. I'm going to take this thing that I think will make me better, that will elevate me, and I'm going to eat it. And Jesus says, I'm going to take this cup that I know will lead to my destruction, my suffering, and my separation, and I'm going to drink it down because it's not my way, it's his. And then there's one other cool connection. This idea of taking and eating, taking and consuming. Jesus also redeems it in the communion when he tells his disciples, always remember me by this, take and eat, take and drink. Remember how I fixed the path of humanity from a species that was rebelling against God to a species that was now on a path to find him again. Where Adam and Eve failed, I came along and I saved the day.